Hari Ju ki jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtara Shatashmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtara Shatashmar Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtara Shatashmar Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtara Shatashmar Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtara Shatashmar Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtara Shatashmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Goraksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Anugoriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Paddas Raghunath Shad Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. नाम चाहे श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय. श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय. सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदाति गिरिराज महाराज की जाय. श्री राधा कुंद श्याम कुंद की जाय. श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जाय. श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय. श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय. श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जाय. श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय. श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. All right, everybody. Oh, and what the days? So today is. One second. It's Shri Kṛṣṇa Vasanti Ras Lila ki, Rāsa-yātrā ki jai. Shri Baladeva Rāsa-yātrā ki jai. Shri Vaṁśīvadadānanda Thakur ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Avirvav Titi ki jai. Shri Śyāmānanda Prabhu ki jai. Tadiya Avirvav Titi ki jai. And Srimad Bhakti Vilas Bharati Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Avirvav Titi ki jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Hari Bo, Raseshwari Mataji and Ganga Mataji. Dandavat pranams to both of you. All right, so today is a very special day. So many festivals in one day. Baladeva Rāsa-yātrā, Krishna's Vasanti Ras Lila. Then there's Vaṁśīvadadānanda Thakur's appearance day, Śyāmānanda Prabhu's appearance day, and Bhakti Vilas Bharati Gosai Maharaj's appearance day. So we're going to read about all these personalities now. I'll share my screen, and then we'll continue with our Srimad Bhagavatam reading tomorrow. But let me make a more appropriate Rasalila background drop. 1 second. Let's do this one. That's good. Full moon. Okay. So, I just picked out a couple things to read, but I didn't get anything about Baladeva Rāsa-yātrā. That's in, what is it? In Chaitanya Bhagavat. That's how the Chaitanya Bhagavat begins. So maybe I can find that. Anyways, let's read from Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Gosai Maharaj now. Today is Purnima Titi and a very special day. Today marks the celebration of Shri Krishna's Vasanti Ras and Shri Balaram's Rāsa-yātrā. Shri Balaram performed Ras at Ramghat in Vrindavan. Previously, the Yamuna did not flow by Ramghat, but Balaram attracted her by force. using his plow. Okay, I know what we can do. We can read from the Vrajmandal Parikrama book about Ramghat. Yeah, okay. It is also Sri Vaṁśīvadadānanda Thakur's appearance day. He is the incarnation of Krishna's flute. After Mahaprabhu left, he remained in Navadvip on Mahaprabhu's order to serve Sachimata and Vishnupriya Devi and pacify all the devotees. Mahaprabhu would inform Sachimata of the various Vaishnavas arriving as guests at their home. After Mahaprabhu took sannyas, Vaṁśīvadadānanda Thakur took up this role. He also looked after all the household affairs for Sachimata and Vishnupriya Devi. And then there's Śyāmānanda. Actually, I'm going to read from Srila Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj's book, where he goes into depth about all these personalities. But first, let's read about the two Raslilas, Baladev's Raslila and Krishna's Vasanti Raslila. So I'm opening up the Vrajmandal Parikrama book. Okay, let's find Ramghat. Maybe I just type it in, I'll find it. There, Ramghat, found it. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I just found it and now I lost it again. 1 second. I'm making the text big. Okay, it's Kokilavan. First, there, found it again. Okay, Ramghat. This place lies on the bank of the Yamuna, 2 miles east of Sherghar. Its present name is Obe. Baladev performed Ras Leela here. Shri Krishna and Balaram had been living in Dwarka for a long time. The Vrajvasis' distress, caused by their separation from him, was so great that Shri Krishna sent Shri Baladev to Vraj to console them. At that time, Nanda Gokul, where they resided, was here. Baladev spent the 2 months of Chaitra and Vaishak in Nanda Vraj and tried his utmost to console his parents, the Sakas and the Gopis. And there's a footnote here. Let's see what the footnote says. Okay, the footnote shows the verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Do maso tatra chavatsin madhun madhavam eva cha Ramaha kshapasu bhagavan gopinam ratim ahavam. Okay, so this is saying how Baladev spent 2 months, Chaitra and what was the other one? Anyways, he spent it here trying to console all the Vrajvasis. Chaitra and Vaishak. In the end, to alleviate the agony of the gopis' separation, Baladev performed Ras here, complete with dancing and singing. At that time, Varunadev induced divinely fragrant Varuni, a sweet nectar found in trees, to start flowing. Baladev and his beloveds drank this Varuni and, becoming intoxicated, enjoyed the Ras. To sport in the water and to quench the thirst of the gopis, he called Yamuna, who was flowing some distance away. When she did not come, however, he dragged her over to them with his plow. He and the gopis then sported in the Yamuna's water. Even today, the Yamuna leaves her natural course and flows by Ramghat. a doubt may arise as to how Baladeva could perform ras with Sri Krishna's beloved gopis. This would be wholly improper from the perspective of ras. It also seems improper for Baladeva to have dragged the Yamuna with his plow, since she is a manifestation of Vishaka, and therefore a beloved of Krishna. Such doubts, however, arise only in the minds of those who lack knowledge of the absolute truth. Ordinary people cannot understand the real nature of transcendental ras. Sri Krishna's and Balaram's ras does not contain even the slightest trace of material licentiousness or desire for lusty enjoyment. Furthermore, Baladeva performed ras only with his own group of beloved gopis. This is clear from Sri Murari Gupta's Sri Chaitanya Charita. And Chaitanya Charita, where does it say? It says, anyways, I'll look at this later. Tatascha Śyāmānanda Vasanta Vesho Shri Rama Krishno Rajasundari Bhi Vikridatu Swayuteshwari Bhi Samam Rasagyo Kaladhota Mandito Nrityanato Gopibi Sarda Gayanto Rasa Bhavito Gayanti Bhishcha Ramabhir Nrityanti Bhishcha Shobhito. That's from Sri Murari Gupta's Sri Krishna Chaitanya Charita. Yamuna is Vishaka herself. She is a beloved of Krishna and one of the main girlfriends of Srimati Radhika. The Yamuna that flows into the sea is a manifestation of this Yamuna. It was this manifestation. Okay, the Yamuna that flows into the sea is a manifestation of this Yamuna. Okay, so it's just a manifestation of Yamuna, but not Yamuna herself, the beloved of Krishna. So it was the manifestation of Yamuna who flows into the sea, not Yamuna herself, the beloved of Krishna, who Baladeva dragged with the nose of his plow. In this way, one's doubt on this subject can be dispelled. Sri Nityananda Prabhu came here during his tour of Rajmandal. When he took darshan of this place, he became absorbed in transcendental ecstasy. Near the temple of Balaram is an Ashvata tree, which is known to be a Saka of Balaram. It was here that Sri Balaram's Ras Leela took place. Okay, so that's what we're reading for Baladev's Ras, and now we can read about Krishna's Vasanti Ras. Let's see, that is in Nectar of Govinda Leela. I'm just going to, because the chapter on Vasanti Ras is kind of long in here, so I'm just going to read an excerpt from that. What happened? Oops, I opened the wrong thing. Sorry. One second. All right. Here. I think a key word was palpitating. That's where I saw to begin. Palpitating. Is that how you spell palpitating? Shoot. Palpitating. There. Okay. Okay, this is all very long, but Mahaprabhu said, we do not want to hear about Krishna stealing Srimati Radhika because the name of the particular gopi that he took is not mentioned in the Bhagavatam. It could have been Chandravali or any other gopi. Please tell us how Krishna directly considers Radha only to be the best. So here we turn to Jayadev's description of Vasanti Ras. Okay, so in the Sharadiya Ras, Krishna took Srimati Radhika and then he abandoned Srimati Radhika, right? That's in Sharadiya Ras. But now we want to see how Krishna directly, Mahaprabhu was saying, we want to see how Krishna directly considers Radha only to be the best. And so this is found in Vasanti Ras, where Srimati Radhika, she leaves Krishna, and Krishna is the one suffering in separation. So the Vasanti Ras is actually far superior to Sharadiya Ras because this one shows the supremacy of Srimati Radhika. And isn't it said that only Srimati Radhika and her gopis perform Ras with Krishna during the Vasanti Ras? But during Sharadiya Ras, it's all the gopis? That's what I've understood. Okay, so here we turn to Jayadev's description of Vasanti Ras. My heart is palpitating, for I desire to write such a thing which in this life I have not written before, and which is not mentioned anywhere. That Kṛṣṇa will fall at the feet of Radhika. We know it well, but Kṛṣṇa is the supreme controller. He is the cause of all causes and the source of all other incarnations. That he falls at the feet of his own potency, who is the form of his maidservant? I don't know if this is proper, but my heart is saying that without Kṛṣṇa putting his head at her feet, she will not be appeased. I don't know if I'm able to write it. Jayadev goes on to describe that on the plains of Giriraj Govardhan at Chandra Sarovar, Chandra remains throughout the whole of one of Brahma's nights. What is the duration of Brahma's night? Millions of yugas. In order to witness the Ras Lila, he stayed there, so it is called Chandra Sarovar. In the spring season, all of the fruits and flowers in Vrindavan come out. The she cuckoo starts her cuckoo sound. The peacock starts his ke-ka sound. And it is as if the pigeons are playing the conch shell, making their ko-ko sounds. They are all making their own sounds, and collectively it sounds as if they are playing a shanai. In this way, all of the birds and animals become happy, and there is no one who is not dancing. Forming groups, Kṛṣṇa and the gopis start dancing. All young unmarried girls are present there, and they had been waiting for 1 year. For dancing with Kṛṣṇa, for meeting Kṛṣṇa, for a whole year, a fire of separation had been burning inside them, not for themselves, not for lust, but for mitigating this separation. For really becoming immersed in Kṛṣṇa's ras, one must enter into this poetry composed by Jayadev Goswami. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his heart full of ras, at night would tell Sarup Damodar, "Please recite Geet Govinda for me." Hearing it, immediately his pleasure would increase. Sarup Damodar would read precisely what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desired to hear. Sometimes it was the poetry of Jayadev, sometimes Chandidas, and sometimes Vidyapati. And sometimes he'd read the verses from the 5 chapters describing the Ras dance in Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, just here in Navadvip, Padmanabha Maharaj is just now starting Ras Panchadhyay, these 5 chapters in Srimad Bhagavatam. He's going to give class this morning. These gopis were clapping their hands as if they were kartals, and they played drums, the veena, and the sitar. It was divinely beautiful as the gopis played one raga after another. There are some melodies in which there is no ras, so they played only the ragas that increased the ras. Kṛṣṇa sang in a very high pitch and in different melodies. The gopis then sang one song in a higher pitch than Kṛṣṇa. He wanted to sing higher, but he couldn't. And so he could only say, "Sadhu, sadhu, very nice, very nice." Kṛṣṇa was dancing, and with Srimati Radhika, he danced with such speed and dexterity that he himself was astonished, and he again chanted, "Sadhu, sadhu," about himself. With one gopi, Kṛṣṇa was holding hands. With another, he was dancing by jumping up and down. Another, he was embracing, and another, he was kissing on the hand. Sometimes, with his eyes half open in great prema, he would look in the direction of a particular gopi. He would follow a certain rhythm of racing behind one gopi after another, and this is how Vasanti Ras is described. In a fraction of a second, as short as the blinking of the eyes, thousands more gopis arrived and started dancing. Radhika saw that at that time, Kṛṣṇa's topmost supremely powerful potency, his Param Aishwarya Shakti, was not working. He had stopped it. Here he kept the cause behind his pastimes, Yogamaya, separate from him. He placed all of these potencies far away by telling them, "At this time, you will not need to do anything. For now, you just sit quietly and watch." Kṛṣṇa said that to all of his potencies. In this pastime of Kṛṣṇa, everything was forgotten. Here, because Aishwarya was not manifest, Kṛṣṇa didn't know that I am Bhagavan, and the gopis didn't know that we are Ishwari, we are the root of Yogamaya. All was forgotten. After a little while, Radhika saw, "Kṛṣṇa is a big cheater. He is cheating me. He seems to be dancing only with me, but actually, he is dancing with everyone. Only because of his speed and dexterity was I saying dexterity? dexterity does it seem that he is alone with me? Only because of speed and dexterity does it seem that he is alone with me. Then Radhika exhibited some man, some jealous anger. If we feel this emotion, there is some selfishness in it. But in the hearts of devotees, there is no selfishness. In her heart, there is never any envy. But even if there is, some, it is only a transformation of prem and mahabhav. Don't consider this to be a deformation. But rather, this is an aspect of her variegatedness, her speciality. There is milk. Add some sugar and it becomes sweet. Mix a little kevra and then a little camphor and other things, and it becomes more and more sweet and tasteful. Like this, Radhika has her own uniqueness, and for making Krishna even happier, she exhibited some man. She left the ras dance and went to a kunja, but then what happened? Upon arriving there, she felt remorse and thought, why did I leave Krishna's association? He didn't leave me, I left him. If there is any unfortunate woman, there is no one as unfortunate as me. Meanwhile, Krishna met one Saki and requested her, please go to Radha and tell her that Krishna is saying, I am very unhappy for you. In the future, I will never do such a thing as I did again, and you will always be happy. Please forgive me. The Saki went to Radhika and seeing her condition said, why are you behaving like this? Leaving Krishna, you came here. He tried to please you, but you wouldn't accept it. So why are you upset? Just then Lalita appeared there and said, Krishna is a liar. Do not trust him. Don't ever reveal your simplicity to him. Remain crooked, otherwise you won't be able to have a straightforward dealings with him. He will never understand your value, so always remain crooked. The Saki tried in many ways to pacify Radhika, but she would not be appeased. When the Saki returned to Krishna and told him this, he said, somehow I must appease her. Then Krishna thought he would play a joke to appease her. Pretending to be very unhappy, he became withered and saying, now I am going. He left there and hid in a nearby kunj. Then some gopis followed behind him, whispering, where is he going? Let us see. He entered a kunj and laid down amongst some large rocks. Seeing him lie down, the Sakis returned to Srimati Radhika, Lalita, Vishaka, and the others, and told them, he has gone to a nearby kunj, being very unhappy and in pain from your side. He was not able to go any further, and he has fallen asleep. They said, where? The Sakis then led Radhika and the others to the kunja. They peered into the entrance of the kunja and saw that his face was covered. They couldn't tell sleeping he was doing. Then moving closer, they saw that he was sleeping. His eyes were closed and his face was a little covered. Hand signals because at that time the supreme enemy was hanging loosely in his hand. They thought that they should take it. They did not consider for a moment that they might be entering a trap, but just that they should take it. Then Radhika said, yes, we should take it, but who will do it? Who will tie the bell around the cat's neck? Who will take the responsibility of snatching the flute from his hand? Friends, this is not a simple thing. His hand is like a snake, and if someone approaches and tries to take the flute, the snake will bite him, giving its poison, and it will never leave him. Therefore, who will dare to try? All of them thought together and concluded it would not be possible for anyone except Srimati Radhika. So she said, if all of you insist, then certainly I will try. Very, very slowly, just as a cat does, she crept closer. Walking very slowly and stealthily, smiling slightly and watching him, she went closer. But what was Krishna doing? He had heard everything that they had discussed amongst themselves, and feeling that he should enjoy himself a little, he thought, if Radha is to be appeased, there must be some direct conversation between us, but there has not been such an opportunity. Therefore, I will let the flute be taken, and then I will see how I can talk to Radha. I will ask each of them, where did you put my flute? And in the course of asking all of them, I will necessarily come to Radha, and then I will get the chance. It was great happiness. Hence, Kṛṣṇa allowed his hand to become slack. Thinking him to be asleep, slowly Radhika crept near to him and saw that he was apparently deeply asleep. When someone is sleeping lightly, they can be easily awakened. But when someone is in deep sleep, you cannot easily awaken them. Kṛṣṇa appeared to be sleeping like that. Quickly, she snatched the flute from his hands, and at once the gopis ran from the kunj. As they were all running with their long hair swinging to and fro, Kṛṣṇa opened his eyes, saying, "Hari, Hari, hey, where's my flute gone?" He ran outside the kunj and said to the gopis, "You have stolen my flute." He said to each gopi, "Did you take it?" Until he came to Radha. She replied, "What will I do with this useless piece of bamboo? Yes, I took it, and I will burn it also. It is only one piece of bamboo. In our garden, we have thousands of sticks of bamboo, so what is the big deal about only one piece of bamboo? You can come and cut thousands and take them." In this way, they were mutually joking, but they didn't realize that Kṛṣṇa was knowingly joking with them. Still, Radhika was not appeased, although internally she desired to meet Kṛṣṇa. He had already seen that sending a messenger would not do it. So what did he do next? He himself expanded into Śyāmānanda, assuming a very beautiful form. She approached the gopis with a basket of flowers in her hand, and in a sweet voice called out, "By rendering service to someone, I will mitigate all of their distress and fatigue, and they will become very happy." One sec, I just want to make sure everything's running correctly because I haven't checked for a while. Oh man, there's been streaming connection issues. Has it cut for a lot? Oh, Haribo, Rohit Radhakrishnan ji, Madhavi Didi, Sudevi Didi, Champak Didi, Pradyumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, and Kishore. Haribo. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Hopefully it didn't cut out for too long. Okay, let's go back a little bit. So Radhika was not appeased, although internally she desired to meet Kṛṣṇa. So what did he do? He expanded into Śyāmānanda. Assuming a very beautiful form, she approached the gopis with a basket of flowers in her hands and in a sweet voice called out, "By rendering service to someone, I will mitigate all of their distress and fatigue, and they will become very happy." At that time, Radhika and the Sakis were feeling fatigued and unhappy. Seeing Shamali, really, Radhika did not recognize the Saki as Kṛṣṇa himself, and Lalita, Vishaka, and the others also did not recognize him. When Kṛṣṇa assumes another form, who will recognize him? Even when an ordinary actor changes dress, we cannot understand who it is. For this purpose, he employed Yoga Maya, and therefore no one could recognize him. Shamali pleased Radhika by giving her a flower garland that emanated a special fragrance. Radhika thought, "Where has this fragrance come from? Whose fragrance is this?" Knowing it to be related to Kṛṣṇa, she was very pleased. Shamali began saying to Radhika, "In this world, there is no one who is as kind, who has as many good qualities, who shows respect to everyone, who is as grateful, and who is as expert in the 64 arts as Kṛṣṇa is. What to speak of just in Vrindavan, in the entire Brahmanda, there is no one equal to him. And you have so many good qualities, and you are so beautiful. So towards him, you should not commit any offense." Praising Kṛṣṇa like this, and praising Radha like this, Shamali proved that Kṛṣṇa was not at fault. Radhika was fully appeased, and in the end, for her ultimate happiness, the final weapon was in his hand. Having returned to his original form, he said to Radhika, "In me, there is a fire of separation, and only the touch of your feet can cool it. Therefore, be merciful and decorate my head with your feet, because by doing so, you will also become happy." Being pleased, Radhika said, "Now agree to one thing. The flower bracelets on my feet are broken. Please rearrange them. And my hair plate has become loose. Please tie it." Seeing that he had followed her every order, she thought, "He has obeyed all of my orders very nicely. He will never go to another gopi. Come, let there be Ras. At that time, the Ras Lila was performed at Chandra Sarovar, and this is how Vasanti Ras is described in Gita Govinda. Although we do not have the qualification to engage in Shravan and Kirtan of this topic, in brief, we have tried to describe this Ras and what sentiments of love came in it. Tasting and tasting this, just see how the condition of Mahaprabhu became. It was a wonderful thing. Sarup Damodar and Rai Ramananda would describe it to him. I am only an ordinary person full of anarthas, but in that place where Sarup Damodar and Rai Ramananda are describing this, Krishna himself, full of Radha Bhav, will be there as a listener in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he receives so much ananda from it. Therefore, we will silently remember this Vasanti Ras, and when one day genuine spiritual greed arises in our hearts, we will be able to directly serve this Ras. Wow. Oh my God, that was amazing. Okay, so that was Nectar of Govinda Lila, Vasanti Ras. Now let's move on to reading about, oh, Haribol Sachin Prabhu. Oh, and Haribol Ujjvala Prada Mataji. Hare Krishna. So now I'm going to read about, today is the appearance day of Vaṁśīvadadānanda. I always have a hard time saying that word. Vaṁśīvadadānanda Thakur. Let me try again. Vaṁśīvadadānanda Thakur. Okay, Vaṁśīvadadānanda. Vaṁśīvadadānanda Thakur. Got it. Okay. So we're going to read from this book. It's Srila Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj's book, Sri Chaitanya and His Associates. Vaṁśī Krishna Priya Yasit Sa Vaṁśī Dasa Thakura Vaṁśīvadadānanda. Oops, that's all. Okay. Vaṁśīvadadānanda Thakur was Krishna's dear flute in Vraj. That's from Gaur Ganodash Dipika 179. The gopis praised the good fortune of Krishna's flute, for he was able to constantly drink the nectar of Krishna's lips. Everything in Vraj is spiritual, that is conscious, and so the flute could take human form as Sri Vaṁśīvadadānanda Thakur. And Mahaprabhu's his life story has been recounted by his great-grandson, Sri Vallabhadas, in the book Vaṁśī Vilas. Interesting. Other books which contain details of his life are Shripad Paryatan and Bhakti Ratnakar, and also the Gaudiya Vaishnava Abhidan gives a brief biography. Vaṁśīvadadānanda Thakur was known by 5 names in Gaudiya Vaishnava society. He was known as Vaṁśīvadan, Vaṁśīdas, Vaṁśī, Vadan, and Vadanananda. He was a well-known writer of devotional songs. Oh, I've seen lots of songs by Vaṁśīdas, so I didn't realize it was Vaṁśīvadadānanda Thakur. That's cool. There's a bunch in the songbook. His appearance took place on the day of the spring full moon in the month of Chaitra, in either 1416 or in 1427 of the Shaka era, that is 1495 or 1506 AD. That's so cool though that he wrote songs, because that's Krishna's flute. And so Krishna's flute, imagine the songs that come from Krishna's flute. Then in Gaur Lila, he's been writing all these songs, with pen. Anyways, I just think that's a really neat connection. Vaṁśīvadadānanda's home in Navadvip. In the Shripad Paryatan, the following information is given. The 2 villages known as Kulia, that's where I am, and Paharpur were side by side. Vaṁśīvadan, Kavidatta, and Saranga Thakur lived. As the town grew, it was known as Kulia Paharpur. Vaṁśīvadadānanda Thakur's home was in Koladvip, that is, the present-day town of Navadvip, formerly known as Kulia Paharpur, where I live. Chakari Chattopadhyay, was Vaṁśīvadadānanda's father. His mother's name was Chandrakala Devi. It is said that both Mahaprabhu and Advaita Acharya were present when Vaṁśīvadadānanda was born. After Mahaprabhu took sannyas, Vaṁśīvadadānanda was engaged as Śyāmānanda and Vishnupriya's servant and protector. On one occasion, Vaṁśī embraced Srinivasacharya and emotionally Vaṁśī embraced Srinivasacharya and emotionally, and they went to Vishnupriya and Sachimata. This is described in the Bhakti Ratnakar. Though he had not been introduced, Vaṁśīvadadānanda guessed that this must be Srinivas. He approached him and asked him who he was. Srinivas told him everything about himself. Vaṁśīvadadānanda embraced him and washed his body with his tears. Srinivas wanted to fall to the ground and pay obeisances to Vaṁśī Thakur, but Vaṁśī would not free him from his embrace. He then went and told Vishnupriya and Sachimata that Srinivas had come. That's Bhakti Ratnakar 4:20-24. Vaṁśīvadadānanda Thakur lived as a householder. He had two sons, Chaitanya Das and Nityananda Das. His deity's name was Pranavallabha. Later, at Vishnupriya Devi's request, he established the worship of the Mahaprabhu deity. He also worshipped his forefathers' Gopinath deity. He spent the last part of his life in his ancestral village in Bilvagram. The Bhattacharyas of that village are said to be his descendants. There's also, I remember in, where is it? In Navadip Dham Mahatma, there's something about Vaṁśīvadadānanda Thakur. Let's just find it. Where is Navadip Dham Mahatma? There it is. Let's find it. Give me 1 second. Oh God. I'm just going to type in Vaṁśī. Vaṁśī. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so when Nityananda Prabhu was taking Jiva Goswami around Navadvip, the first place they went was to Antardvip, Mayapur. And Nityananda Prabhu brought Jiva Goswami. Nityananda Prabhu brought Jiva Goswami. Nityananda Prabhu said, they entered Jagannath Mishra's house, and Sri Nityananda Prabhu made a submission at Sri Sachimata's lotus feet. O Mother, this supremely intelligent Jiva, who is a dear servant of Sri Gauranga, is very fortunate. Upon hearing these words of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Jiva fainted, falling to the ground like a tree uprooted by a great storm. Sri Jiva fell at Sri Sachimata's feet and rolled on the ground. Various ecstatic symptoms manifested in his body in competition with each other. Mother Sachi mercifully blessed Sri Jiva. That day, they all took prasad in that very house. Sri Vishnupriya Devi prepared rice, vegetables, and many other kinds of dishes on the order of Mother Sachi. After some time, Sri Vaṁśīvadadānanda Prabhu offered the preparations with great attention to Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Then Ishan Thakur arranged a sitting place and with an extremely joyful heart served prasad to Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Filled with motherly affection, Sri Sachi Devi told Sri Nityananda Prabhu, "Finally, my son, you are at your mother's house. Now eat with great joy. I have secretly offered this prasad to Gaurachandra, so if you also affectionately accept it, I will become most happy at heart." I remember reading in Chaitanya Bhagavat the other day that Nityananda Prabhu was just as dear to Sachimata as Gauranga Mahaprabhu was. Hearing the words of Mother Sachi, Sri Nityananda Prabhu was blissfully accepted the prasad, and Sri Jiva Goswami received his remnants. Sri Jiva said, "I am blessed, having taken prasad today at Mahaprabhu's house in Mayapur." After eating, Sri Nityananda Prabhu paid his obeisances at Mother Sachi's feet and begged her permission to leave. As Sri Nityananda Prabhu was leaving, he took Vaṁśīvadadānanda with him. Sri Jiva offered obeisances at the feet of Sri Vaṁśīvadadānanda Prabhu. Sri Nityananda Prabhu said, Jiva, all devotees know this Vaṁśīvadadānanda to be an incarnation of Sri Krishna's dear flute. By his mercy, the jivas become attracted to Sri Krishna and become eager to enter Maharas. Look, Jiva, in this house, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performs many pastimes with all of us. Look here, this is Jagannath Mishra's temple. Daily, in a steadfast manner, he would sit here to worship Lord Vishnu. Anyways, it goes on, but I just wanted to read that part. Now Ishan Thakur performs, no, actually there's a little bit more. Just see this house where Jagannath Mishra used to serve guests. Also, take darshan of this platform where he worships Tulsi. As long as Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, the maintainer of the devotees, remained at home, he used to follow the behavior shown by his father. Now Ishan Thakur performs all these duties under the guidance of Sri Vaṁśīvadadānanda Prabhu. At this place, there was a great neem tree which disappeared by Mahaprabhu's touch. When Sri Nityananda Prabhu described these places, he was crying. In the same way, Sri Jiva and Sri Vaṁśīvadadānanda were also crying. And then they continued on to Sri Rasangan and other places. Okay, so now we will read about Sri Śyāmānanda Prabhu. Haribo Rukmini Didi, Dandavat Pranam. Where are we? Okay, let me just find it. Do you mind if I go a little overtime today? Because this section on Śyāmānanda might be a little bit longer. I don't know. Let's see. There. Sri Śyāmānanda Prabhu. So again, we're reading from Srila Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj's Sri Chaitanya and his associates, Gaur Parashad Charitavali. Sri Śyāmānanda Prabhu. Sri Śyāmānanda Prabhu was a servant of Subal in Krishna Lila. Wow, he's a servant of Subal in Krishna Lila. He was a disciple of Hridayananda, or Hriday Chaitanya, a disciple of Gauridas Pandit, who is Subal in Krishna Lila. Oh, interesting. Yang loka bhuvi kirtayanti Hridayanandasya shishyam priyam sakye shri subalyayam bhagavata preshtanu shishyam tata. Oh, sa shriman rasikendra mastaka manishchite. I don't know what the meter is for this. Anyways, manishchite mama harnisham Shri Radha Priya Narma Marmasu Ruchim Sampadayan Bhasatam. This is from the Śyāmānanda Shataka. Sri Śyāmānanda was known in this world as Hridayananda's dear disciple. He was a follower of Subal Saka, and he became the grand disciple of the Lord's dear associate. May he, the crest jewel of the connoisseurs of divine love, appear day and night in my mind, bringing me a fondness for the service of Shri Shri Radha Madhav's confidential joyous pastimes. And Subal is very dear to, Srimati Radhika is very dear to Subal Saka. And there's, oh my God, in Ujjvala Nilamani, it's amazing what it says about Subal Saka and Srimati Radhika. They had a very close friendship. And so it makes sense that in this pastime, Srimati Radhika puts the Nupur, which we'll read about probably soon. Oh, wait. Okay. Śyāmānanda Prabhu was born on the full moon day of Chaitra in 1456 of the Shaka era. That's 1535 AD, in the town of Dharendra Bahadurpur, which is near the Kargapur railway station in Medinipur. His father was Sri Kṛṣṇa Mandal and his mother Durika. Kṛṣṇa Mandal's hometown was Dandeshwar, which lies on the banks of the Subarnareka river. The following statement is found in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Abhidhan. Sri Krishna Mandal used to live in a place called Ambua, near Dandeshwar. He formerly lived in Goda, the part of Bengal which lies on the banks of the Bhagirathi River, and only later moved to Dandeshwar, just across the present-day border of Orissa. Śyāmānanda Prabhu's Shripats in the towns of Dharendra, Bahadurpur, Raini or Rohini, Gopi Vallabhapur, and Nrsimhapur are very dear to his disciples. Gopi Vallabhapur is like his main place, isn't it? And they have a huge festival on this day, like a ginormous festival in Gopi Vallabhapur. Śyāmānanda Prabhu was born in the Sargopa subcaste, which fits in the category of Jalachala, that is, the Brahmins who are permitted to only take water touched by its members. Interesting. Of course, a Vaishnava is beyond the material qualities and may take birth in a family of any race or caste. Anyone who thinks badly of Vaishnavas or judge them on the basis of their race or caste is destined for hell. Arche Vishnu Shiladhir, Gurushu Naramatir, Vaishnave Jati Budir, Vishnurva Vaishnavanam, Kalimala Matane, Padatirtem Buddhi, Shri Vishnur Namni, Mantri Sakala Kalusahe, Shabda Samanya Buddhir, Vishnu Sarveshwareshe, Taritara Samadhir, Yasya Va Narakisa. Anyone who considers the deity to be nothing but stone, the Guru to be an ordinary human being, or the Vaishnava to be a member of a particular caste or race, who takes the holy water which has washed Vishnu or the Vaishnava's feet and can destroy all the sins of the age of Kali, to take that water to just be ordinary water, or who thinks that the name of our mantra of Vishnu, which destroys all evils, is the same as any other sound, or who takes Vishnu to be equal to anything other than him, has a hellish nature. Yasya va narakisa. That person resides in Narak also, right? Oh yeah, a hellish nature, sorry. Okay. One who takes birth in a low-class family is not disqualified from performing devotional service, nor is one who is born in a pure high-class Brahminical family automatically qualified for such service. Whoever engages in the worship of the Lord is a great person. One who does not worship is rejected. There is no consideration of caste or creed in Krishna bhajan. That's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Lila chapter 4, verses 66 and 67. Name bhaktas chaturvedhi, na bhakta mar bhakta swapacha priya, tasmai deyam tato grahyam, sacha pujo yatahyaham. It's from the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Simply being a knower of the four Vedas does not make someone my devotee. An outcast who is my devotee is dear to me. One should exchange gifts and food, etc., with such a devotee, for he is as verily worshipable as I am. That's Hari Bhakti Vilas. Originally from the Itihas Samuchar. Okay. Śyāmānanda's parents had lost several children in childbirth, and they vowed to surrender their next child to Vishnu if it survived. We cannot describe the virtues of his parents for fear of increasing the volume of this book. They had previously lived in Dharendra Bahadurpur, and people say that Śyāmānanda was born there. Though his brothers and sisters had all died in childbirth, nothing could stop him. Even so, his parents brought him up in sadness, and they called him Dukhi. That's from the Bhakti Ratnakar. So all of his brothers and sisters died at childbirth, and so his parents brought him up in sadness, and they called him Dukhi, which means sad. That was actually a common thing, I think, during that time. Like they would give names like that to children, right? I've seen a few names like that. Also, like in Chaitanya Bhagavat, the girl who the lady who brought pots of water when Mahaprabhu was doing his, what Leela was that? Anyways, doing his kirtan, she brought the pots of water, and Mahaprabhu changed her name from Dukhi to Sukhi. Śyāmānanda Prabhu's parents performed the appropriate rituals when their time came, such as the first eating of solid food and the cutting of hair. As he grew older, he studied Sanskrit grammar, etc. His parents were overjoyed to see his talents and his religious proclivity. Śyāmānanda Prabhu listened attentively to devotees when they spoke of Gauranga and Nityananda Prabhu's glories, and he would repeat them to others constantly. Whenever he listened to the activities of Gaur Nitai or Radha and Krishna, tears would flow in torrents from his eyes. Dukhi served his parents devotedly, and they told him to get initiated so that he could fully commit himself to the service of the Lord. Dukhi agreed and told them that he wished to take Diksha from Hriday Chaitanya in Ambika Kalna. Going there would also give him the chance to see the Ganges and bathe in it. His parents happily gave him permission to go. When Dukhi arrived in Ambika Kalna, he threw himself at the feet of Hriday Chaitanya, who upon becoming acquainted with him, happily gave him Krishna mantra. He gave Dukhi the Vaishnav name Krishnadas, and so he was also known from then on as Dukhi Krishnadas. Hriday Chaitanya ordered him to go to Vrindavan and take up a life of intense bhajan. Though Dukhi Krishnadas did not like being separated from his Gurudev, following his order he set off for Vraj, first visiting Navadip and other places in Gautamandal, where he sought the blessings of the Vaishnavas. After spending much time on the pilgrimage, he finally arrived in Vrindavan, where he became completely absorbed in the worship of Sri Radha Shama Sundar. In Vrindavan, Dukhi Krishnadas studied the Vaishnav scriptures under Sri Jiva Goswami, who is then the leading scholar of the Sampradaya. When Hriday Chaitanya heard of the enthusiasm with which Dukhi Krishnadas was leading devotional life in Vraj, he wrote a letter to Jiva Goswami in which he said that Jiva Goswami should accept Dukhi Krishnadas as his own disciple. Hriday Chaitanya wrote a letter to Jiva Goswami saying that he should accept Dukhi Krishnadas as his own disciple. Just as he gave titles to his other prominent students, the Acharya title to Srinivas and the Thakur title to Narottam, Jiva Goswami gave the name Śyāmānanda to Dukhi Krishnadas. The reasoning behind this name was that he brought great joy to Sri Radha Shama Sundar. And this is a quote from Bhakti Ratnakar that we're reading. He brought great joy to Shama Sundar, and hence he was given the new name Śyāmānanda in Vrindavan. Seeing his sincere endeavor and devotion, Sri Jiva Goswami taught him devotional scriptures. Bhakti Ratnakar. Jiva Goswami sent Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and Śyāmānanda Prabhu back to Bengal with the Vaishnav scriptures written by the Goswamis in 1504 of the Shaka era. That's 1582 and 83 AD. The idea was to spread the teachings found in these books throughout Bengal and Odisha. We have already related the events that took place when Virahamvir had these books stolen. Narottam Thakur went to northern Bengal and Śyāmānanda Prabhu went to Odisha. The Medinipur district was previously under the rule of the Odisha king. Radharani's special mercy on Śyāmānanda. Even though Śyāmānanda Prabhu was Hriday Chaitanya's initiated disciple, his guru had entrusted him to the care of Jiva Goswami Prabhu. Through the association of Jiva Goswami and service to him, Śyāmānanda Prabhu developed a taste for serving Radha and Krishna in the conjugal mood. Hriday Chaitanya Prabhu himself was a disciple of Gauridas Pandit, who was one of the 12 Gopalas, Suvalsaka. He thus worshipped Gaur Nitai in the mood of friendship. Those who think that Śyāmānanda Prabhu committed an offense to his initiating spiritual master by abandoning his mood and Those who think that he committed an offense to his initiating spiritual master by abandoning his mood and by serving Krishna in a different mood are wrong. The mood of friendship is contained within the conjugal mood. If a disciple makes farther progress in spiritual life, it enhances the reputation of his teacher. Wow, that's very interesting. No, because it said before that, like at the beginning, it said that he was a servant of Suvalsaka in Krishna Lila. but now it's saying that the mood of friendship is contained within the conjugal mood. Anyways, I have questions about this. Anyhow. An extraordinary incident which took place in Vrindavan prior to his being ordered by Jiva Goswami to return to Odisha demonstrates how dear Śyāmānanda Prabhu was to Radharani. One day, Śyāmānanda Prabhu was sweeping the Ras Mandal in Vrindavan, absorbed in an ecstatic trance. Suddenly, by Radharani's transcendental mercy, he found her ankle bracelet, her nupur, lying on the ground. In his excitement, he touched the ankle bracelet to his forehead, where it left a mark which is preserved to this day as the tilak marking of the disciple descendants of Śyāmānanda Prabhu. It is known as Nupur Tilak. Śyāmānanda Prabhu's preaching. Srinivasacharya, Narottam Thakur, and Śyāmānanda Prabhu primarily preached the message of Mahaprabhu through kirtan. The styles that these three acharyas used respectively were named Manohar Shai, Garanahati, and Renati. They would enchant the listeners with their heartfelt singing of kirtan. Unfortunately, these styles of kirtan are no longer extant. But from what I heard, because Nandakishore taught me Mridanga, and Nandakishore he learned from Babalu Prabhu. And according to Babalu Prabhu, the mantras that we learned, they're all coming from Śyāmānanda Prabhu, the Mridanga mantras. So, yeah. But, like all the style, because his kirtan wasn't just Mridanga, it was the whole style of singing and a whole... from what I heard, that Narottam Das Thakur's style of kirtan, the Garanhati style, was not very accessible. Like, it was very difficult to do. But Śyāmānanda Prabhu's style was a lot more accessible. It was a lot easier. And that's kind of more the style of kirtan that we do. As a result of Śyāmānanda Prabhu's preaching in Orissa, many Muslims also became his disciples. The most important of his innumerable disciples was Rasik Murari, or Rāsa-yātrā. Rāsa-yātrā was the son of Achyutananda, the zamindar of Rohini village. He had another name, Murari, and was thus most commonly known as Rasika Murari. He was a very powerful preacher, and his fame is still widespread throughout the villages of Orissa. A list of some of Śyāmānanda Prabhu's prominent disciples is given in Bhakti Ratnakar. Śyāmānanda made disciples all over the place. A person can be purified by hearing their names. There's Radhananda, Purushottama, Manohar, Chintamani, Balabhadra, Jagadishwar, Uddhava, Akrura, Madhuban, Govinda, Jagannath, Gadadhar, Anandananda, that's a cool name, Anandananda, and Radha Mohan. Śyāmānanda was constantly immersed in the joys of kirtan and the association of these disciples. Poets have described his wonderful pastimes for the pleasure of everyone. That's Bhakti Ratnakar 15, verses 62 to 66. Another of Śyāmānanda Prabhu's notable disciples was a yogi named Damodar, whom he had converted into Vaishnavism. Narahari Chakravarti has written the following account of that conversation. Śyāmānanda mercifully flooded the yoga practitioner named Damodar with devotional ras. After becoming his disciple, Damodar constantly cried and chanted the names of Nitai Chaitanya. Who could remain untouched by his ecstatic absorption? He danced, crying out, "Bhakti is the best of all!" After delivering Damodar, Śyāmānanda continued to travel about, distributing the jewel of devotion to everyone. It's from Bhakti Ratnakar, chapter 15. Śyāmānanda Prabhu put on a large festival at Dharendra with Rasik Murari and Damodar. That large festival is still remembered today by his descendants. When he left the world, Śyāmānanda Prabhu turned over the service of Sri Govinda at Gopi Vallabhapur to his dear disciple Rasikananda Dev Goswami. Śyāmānanda Prabhu's disciples and their descendants still worship his deity Radhasham Sundar in Vrindavan. This temple is still one of the principal pilgrimage sites in Vrindavan. Śyāmānanda Prabhu lived the last part of his life in Nrsinghpur in Orissa. where he continued preaching Vaishnavism. His earthly pastimes came to an end on the first day of the waning moon in the month of Ashad, in 1552 of the Shaka era, which is 1631 AD. To preserve his holy memory, the branch of the Gaudiya Math in Medinipur city was named Śyāmānanda Gaudiya Math. Jai Shri Śyāmānanda Prabhu ki Jai. Yeah, and this Leela of it was told in brief here, but the story in detail is so beautiful. I think it might be on purebhakti.com. I don't know. Anyways, we are over time, so this is, beautiful. This book is amazing. If anybody wants to get it, it was just this Gaur Purnima. It was released on as in Kindle format on Amazon. If you'd like to purchase it, it's not very expensive either. It's called Sri Chaitanya and His Associates. All right, and this is a new edition. The previous edition that was published had lots of mistakes in it, and it didn't read as smoothly, and it wasn't as accurate. Also, the translation, they did a whole fidelity check, and this edition is much nicer. It's much more true to the Bengali also. So, highly recommend. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh wait, I forgot. Sorry. Let's just read one more thing. If any of you have to go, that's totally fine. Feel free to go. But I forgot. This is also the appearance day of Sri Srimad Bhaktivilasa Bharati Goswami Maharaj. And there's a short thing written here about him. I don't know anything about him, but there's a short thing that Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj spoke about him. So I'm going to read that right now, and then we can end. All right. This website, it's a little bit strange. We have to read it like this, unfortunately, because it won't let me. Okay. Today is the appearance day of Srila Bhaktivilasa Bharati Goswami Maharaj, a dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur. This Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj spoke this in 2013, April 25th. A service opportunity. In the earlier years, Srila Maharaj used to stay in Bhubaneswar. He was well built and exceptionally intelligent. Afterwards, he moved to Jagannath Puri, wherein he became unwell and was diagnosed with tuberculosis. On hearing of this, Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Madhav Goswami Maharaj, immediately invited him to stay with us at Kolkata. At that time, we were staying in an old apartment on Satish Mukherjee Road. By Guru Maharaj's mercy, I had the opportunity to serve him at that time by taking him to the doctor and then to a Vaidya, an Ayurvedic physician, who eventually cured him. That Vaidya was a Sri Khandavasi, coming from the lineage of Mahaprabhu's devotees from Sri Khanda. Sri Khandavasis were renowned Vaidyas and had amazing ways to cure patients. Mahaprabhu said that those who are mercifully treated for their illnesses by the residents of Sri Khanda would be cured not only of their material disease, but of the disease of material existence, their bhava rog as well. Srivas just told me that when he was coming here from, on his way from Bardhaman station, he went via Shantipur, I think? No, Katwa. And he said that one of the stations right near to Navadip was Sri Khanda. So I want to go there sometime with Srivas. I didn't realize you could get there so easily by train. And that's the place where Raghunandan Thakur and Narahari Sarkar and Mukunda, and so it's like a really special place. So I'm planning to go there soon. His stay in Mayapur. Srila Bhakti-Vilas Bharati Goswami Maharaj later built a mat in Mayapur called Rupanuga Bhajan Ashram. That's Sri Rupanuga Bhajan Ashram, that's a picture of it. He also participated in the first Vrajmandal Parikrama organized by Guru Maharaj. When he was constructing his mat in Mayapur, he wanted to locate his bhajan kutir on the front side, which was next to the main road. His reasoning was that way he would easily get darshan of devotees. However, I requested him to not do so and to build it on the backside instead, so as to avoid any disturbance while doing bhajan. In hindsight, he appreciated the recommendation later, saying, "I am glad I heeded your words. There is so much commotion on the front side due to the honking of vehicles and rickshaws. I would have never been able to do bhajan peacefully." He lived an extremely renounced life. Day and night he would write scriptures and print them all by himself. He printed a lot of valuable books. He would serve the deities of the mat himself, even in his old age. A brahmachari from our mat would go to the our brahmachari from our mat would go to do the shringar of the deities daily after Srila Maharaj's seva was done. His unique contribution. Srila Bhakti-Vilas Bharati Goswami Maharaj was greatly inspired to retain the sanctity of Sridham Mayapur, upon visiting which many could benefit by witnessing its spiritually surcharged activities and atmosphere. It was the pioneering vision and outcome of years of intense labor of Srila Prabhupada to reinstate Sridham Mayapur to its original glory. After the departure of Srila Prabhupada, as the glories of Sridham Mayapur spread, many visitors, including casual tourists, started getting attracted, leading to an unwarranted increase in nuisance in the area. Srila Maharaj labored hard to curb many such unwanted activities and disturbances in Mayapur, like shops selling meat and materialistic people flooding the holy dham, equating it to an ordinary tourist destination. People would come and camp on the banks of the Ganges, carrying out illicit activities. There was one shop in particular named Gauri Shankar, which used to sell chicken. Srila Maharaj objected. Why use Shiva and Parvati's sacred names for such a profane business? He filed a petition in the High Court to curtail such activities and ensure that the prohibition was sanctioned so as to stop allowing the holy dham to turn into another tourist destination for sense enjoyers. When the new restrictions were approved, all such tourists were barred entry from the sacred lands of Mayapur, 4 to 5 miles away from its boundary. He had gone to great lengths to specially solicit the assistance of the Delhi police force for this. That is why it is still written there, after you cross the railway line, by the order of the High Court, it is prohibited to have picnics from here onwards. Wow, that's so interesting. If anyone was suspected to be coming there for a picnic, with vessels and other paraphernalia, they would be taken for interrogation by the police guard who is always stationed there. Such was his nishta that he had vowed that, as long as I live, I will not allow my Gurudev's holy lands to be polluted by materialistic activities. It is remarkable how many disciples of Srila Prabhupada served in multifarious ways and made such vital contributions. I beg for mercy at his lotus feet while remembering him on his appearance day today. Yeah, so that's a reason why now in Mayapur, meat is completely banned. There's no meat in Mayapur. And it's all because of Bhakti-Vilas Bharati Goswami Maharaj. There's his vigraha and his mat there. All right, I'm going to end now. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga. Oh yeah, and Kishore just mentioned, today is also Hanuman Jayanti. Yeah, Srivas and I, we didn't even know it was Hanuman Jayanti, and we were making a plan to go to Murari Gupta's Shripad, because Srivas just translated a whole ton of songs by Murari Gupta. They're beautiful, from the Vaishnava Padavali. Yeah, there's a bunch. Goes through like very sweet leelas about Mahaprabhu's his birth Mahaprabhu as a child. Really sweet songs, and also about. Anyways, that's a whole other thing. Mahaprabhu was taking sannyas. He also wrote songs about Srimati Radhika's man. So it's interesting that he's Hanuman, but he wrote all about Srimati Radhika. Anyways, that's very, anyhow, okay. Jai Shishi Guru Goranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai. Shri Govina Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju ki jai. Nityal Pravishto Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev ki jai. Nityal Pravishto Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishmar Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishto Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishmar Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Pravishto Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishmar Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Goraksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Nugoriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhattadash Raghunath Shāda Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gora Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Avishta Bharata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kundi Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Shri Baladeva Rāsa-yātrā ki jai. Shri Kṛṣṇa Vasanti Rāsa-yātrā ki jai. Shri Vaṁśīvadadānanda Thakur ki jai. Shri Śyāmānanda Prabhu ki jai. Shri Bhakti-vilas Bharati Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Shri Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Dandavat pranams everybody. Vanchakalpa Vrindai Tulsidevai Priyai Keshavashrajab Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatāya Namo Namaha. Vanchakalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow for Srimad Bhagavatam. We're going to finish the 5th chapter or 4th chapter of Uddhav Gita. Hari Bol.